Hey everyone, it's Georgina at the Sew Along with Georgie Girl. Welcome to Monday Night Sew Along. So tonight we're going to continue the Mediterranean tile quilt. Do me a favor, you know the drill, go to your chat and text in there and let me know if you can hear me. Now, we do have Chris on standby. His cell phone number is on all the walls with the link. Should you have any technical problems, you can text him at any time. So tonight, we're going to be talking about the Mediterranean tile quilt borders. But before we do that, now that we've combined our two webinars into one every Monday night, I want to talk about fun projects first. And there's some cool things that I'm going to show and tell. Let me get you a sample, so hold tight just for a second. Okie dokie. So here we go. On Monday night, we're going to be talking about cool tips, the sew along, and then also fun projects. So let's get started. Welcome everyone. I'm Georgina Lewis, and this is Monday Night Sew Along. So let's talk about cool tips. Then we're going to move into special projects. Tonight I have a pillowcase. I'm going to show this to you that I made. And you probably have seen the simple burrito pillowcase pattern, but I've done it with a lace. So I want to show you that cool tip and how to get nice lace into your pillowcase. Okay, in addition to that, we're going to continue our series on the Mediterranean tile quilt featuring case facet fabrics. But specifically tonight, we're going to talk about borders and the different borders of this quilt that you can cut different ways, which you're going to see behind me that I'm going to go through in detail. So let's first talk about a tip. I got a great tip for you. When you are cutting your fabric to make this quilt or any quilt, you can have your leftover scraps. There's a couple things that I like to do, and I'm going to share this with you now. One, I have two plastic bags sitting next to me, and as I'm cutting, I put all my shavings in one. I put anything less than an inch in another, because I don't really use things less than an inch unless I'm collaging. And then I will take my other scraps and I will cut them up into strips of different sizes. I happen to favor 1 3/4 inch, 2 1/2 inch, 4 inches, and then I press out, all my fat quarters. But guess what I do? I get these handy dandy hangers from the dry cleaners. And interestingly enough, these are the ones that your pant hangers come on, and they've got this little cardboard, bottom that really grips my fabric well. So I like to watch TV. As everyone's watching TV, I have my ironing board behind the sofa, and I'll just sit there and press and press and press. I don't like to press when I start a project. I like to have my pressing done and my strips cut. So I got some samples here to show you. Now, when I was cutting out the border for this quilt, I cut a bunch of fabric at 4 inches or 4 1/2. And so I have them hanging here. And what's really nice is that this is a easy and convenient way to hang out my fabric without having to refold them and getting another press in them. I do this for my 1 3/4 inches or 1 1/2, and I separate my hangers by multiples. If I have multiples of one pattern, I will put them on one side and I'll put my singles on the other side. That really helps me identify what my leftovers are. And then I have my 2 1/2 inches. A lot of 2 1/2 inches. So this is a very standard size for me. A lot of patterns that I use are 2 1/2 inches. And again, I separate one side by, areas that I have multiples of, like here, and then other side by singles. So that way I know when I'm putting stuff together what I have. Now here's a special tip for you that you may not realize. is that when you go to the dry cleaners after a holiday, you get your linens on a special hanger that is, ironically, 18 inches wide. And a fat quarter is 18 inches wide. So if you ask for a linen hanger, it is wide enough to press out all your fat quarters, and I have all my Christmas fat quarters all ready to go. And I can press it and hang it on my hanger. And when I'm ready to use these fabrics, I'm ready to rock and roll. I think one of the biggest problems that we see with people being hesitant to start projects is that they're overwhelmed by the work. You know, you got to press a lot. A really good quilter will press a lot. Even a seamstress will press a lot, because pressing is the key to getting those tight edges when you sew and everything else. So take that equation out of the, quilting process and press ahead. Figure out all your straps, and instead of folding them and shoving them on a shelf, hang them on one of these lovely hangers that you get that's valuable from the local dry cleaners. So I think that's a great reusable way to keep your straps flat and ready to go. That's my tip of the week. All right, so now we're going to do pillowcases. Now this is very interesting. I'm going to show you the Gerber Daisy, which is, I think, a fan favorite of all the case fabrics. And I love this fabric. It's very hard fabric to keep in stock. Every time I order 3 bolts at a time, boom, it's out the door just like that. But what I did is I went to Joann's. They're having a great sale on some lace, and I bought 2 sizes, and I played with it a little bit this week to see which way that, which size I would like. The problem with the burrito pillow case is that it puts a fold towards the pillow and not towards the end. And so I figured out a nice, simple way that you can do this pillow case for your pillows, including the lace facing the end of your pillow. And of course, it's got a French seam. So if you all do not know what a French seam is, that's a hidden seam. So here it's a hidden seam. So I'm going to teach you how to do a French seam, and a very simple step. French seams are lovely because it's a very polished and professional way to do a seam on the inside. All right, so now let's talk about the pillowcase and how you make this pillowcase. All right, you start with a piece of fabric. You need to measure your own pillows. I went with the pattern online. It didn't work for my pillows. When I was designing this, I altered it. So I started with a piece of fabric that was 40 long by 22 wide. So basically, it was half of the width of fabric. And then from that 40-inch piece of fabric, I cut off 9 inches. The 9 inches is my end piece right here. Okay? So the first thing I did, cut off 9 inches. That leaves me this remnant right here, 9 inches. Then I don't worry about squaring this up until after I get the first layer sewn. So you take your 9-inch piece and you lay it down, and then you're going to take your lace. All right? Now, how do you do this? You're going to take your fabric and you're going to place this piece face up. Then you're going to take your lace, and I took this lace that has a double wove at the top and then a tight little scallop underneath that with the flower, because I want to fold this over and re-stitch it and press it. So I wanted this nice section here that wasn't too thick for that process. So I'm going to take this end with this open crochet end, and I'm going to put it on the top of my panel. So let me show that to you. So on the table, I've got my 9-inch piece and I've got the crochet at the top. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down my big panel, and I'm going to place it face down on those two pieces. I'm lining up the edges up here at the top, and I'm taking this in, and I don't do it exactly as a roll from the beginning. I fold it over just a little, and then I roll it like a burrito. Lining everything up, I'm going to pull this down and show this to you in just a second. Lining all these edges up, and again, you know me, I like to take the center pieces and pull them out just slightly so I can see them when I'm sewing to know that I catch all of those edges. I also overcut sometimes for that same reason. I don't want to be short. So I line those pieces up, and then you fold this 9-inch wrapper back up. Then you pin it. So let me pin it for you, and I'm going to show this to you. Now I've already got a few of these steps done, so after I pin it, I'll show you the sewn piece. Literally, this pillowcase will take you less time to sew than it's taking me to explain it to you. You can have these beautiful pillowcases before you go to bed tonight. You do need 1 yard of fabric, approximately 42 inches actually, times it with the fabric if you're making all the same print. So here you go. I've got this pin, and it's 3 layers thick plus rolled. You need to make sure that when you pin this top piece on here, which is only 9 inches on both sides, so it wraps it like a burrito, that it is not catching the bigger panel that you rolled up on the inside. You only have the outer piece and the lace and one end of the big panel all clipped together. After you do this, I'm going to set this down. I've already got one sewn. You're going to sew this together. It's totally acceptable and totally fine for you to sew 1/4 inch seam at this point because you want to catch all those layers. So at that point, grab in here and start pulling out this panel. And I haven't pulled it out, so I don't know. To make sure I haven't caught everything, and we're going to figure that out live together. But you pull this out, and you pull this through, just like this, and voila. Now, you've got this top piece finished on both sides, and you have your lace. So this is 1/2 of the pillowcase. Now here's the problem for me, is that this lace is facing me on the pillow on my face, and I don't want to get it dirty. I want to take it and fold it back over, and I want to sew it towards the end piece. So the first thing that I did this a couple different ways until I figured out something that really kind of worked well. So the first thing that I do is I lay this out and I press it flat with the lace naturally pointing the opposite way. And I press this seam going towards the end and get it nice and flat. I did it on both sides. Once I did that, at that point, I rolled this over on top so that it would take the fold on the inside. I can feel the edge of this lace folded back towards the end. So I folded it on top of that. And then I'm going to come through and sew a real thin 1/8 of an inch stitch down to hold this in place, also catching that inside seam and edge inside of this pillow sham, and then I press it again. That gives me this beautiful look that you see here. Okay, so now we have this panel, and it's sewed together, and it's been pressed. And we're going to pretend that I've already done that, and that is pressed like that. At this point, how do you do a French seam? Well, let's take our sample apart so I can show that very quickly to you. And it's super easy. You're going to be shocked that you haven't done this before. And if you have, you can just go get a cup of coffee while I finish this part of the webinar. Okay, so you're going to take your panels, and they're finished with the lace. You're going to place them together with the wrong sides together. Just like it would look if it was totally finished. So you're going to take them and you're going to pin them together like this. Now, of course, this other side needs to be finished so that this lace is all the way around. But in my sample here, I'm just skipping ahead. So once you put these together, I want you to pin them. And before you start sewing, I want you to trim. So at this point, you'll see that in this example, oh, wow, maybe my one piece is longer than the other. Maybe I have an edge a little too wide. You're going to lay it on a flat surface, and I want you to square up your pillowcase, and I also want you to trim your pillowcase. Now, the first time I did this, once I had it all sewn together, I did a 33-inch length, and that's too long for my pillowcases, or for my pillows, rather. So I came back and I adjusted. So that's really important that you know the size of your pillows that you have in your home. So I broke this back down to 32 inches, and then I squared them up. You then will sew a stitch of the right side facing outward and your wrong sides together. Once you sew, and I did 1/8 of an inch. I did 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Not a scant 1/8 of an inch, just a regular 1/8 of an inch. Once you sew the 3 sides, keeping your needle down so you can do these corner turns properly. Once you do that, you're going to turn this pillowcase inside out. And you need to make sure before you turn it inside out that you clean up any and all raw edges. You trim it down so it's even. Let's say you don't sew exactly a straight line. You want to trim it and make it even, because when you turn it inside out, and I'm going to take this pillowcase out and show this to you, okay? When you turn this inside out, you're going to need to catch that original seam. And I've done that here. So you turn it inside out. Now you're going to come through and look at this. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but that's already a very clean edge because I sewed it with the wrong sides together properly first. Then I turn it inside out where the right sides are together to pillowcase is inside out, and there's no raw edge here with threads. So now I can, what I like to do is take this fabric into my fingers, and I take it and I rub it back and forth just gently enough, but I'm pushing this sewn edge from the other side up, and I lay just a section down and I press it flat. And then I grab the other section and I push this fabric and get all the loose fabric pulled tight, and I press that down. Because I don't want any, goofy gaps. I want to make sure that that seam from the other side is pushed all the way to the top, and that I get a nice clean press edge. And then I know I can come around now with 1/4 of an inch. So if you're going to start sewing, if you're not comfortable doing 1/8 of an inch and you're a new beginner sewer and quilter, then I would suggest you go with 1/4 of an inch, and we turn this inside out, that you do 1/2 of an inch to catch it all. Push that edge all the way up on the inside, press it flat, and then sew it. And look how polished and finished this looks. It's just amazing, very professional, and everything is caught on the inside of a French seam. I'll post some close-up pictures for you, and you can also Google what a French seam looks like, but it's a very professional look. That's very professional on the inside. And then you're done. You've got this fantastic pillowcase, and what I would suggest you do is that when you get done with it, you come through and check all the edges and make sure you don't have any loose threads hanging out here anywhere. You shouldn't have any. And then you've got this beautiful, amazing pillowcase. So that's my fun project of the night. Last week we did the slippers. This week we did this fun pillowcase. And right now I have my pillow shams being quilted. So next week we will finish the pillow sham pattern. This pattern and how I've altered it will be live on the Cutting Fabrics website to download tonight, at the end of tonight before I go to bed. So you'll have that one. The pillow, by the way, the pillow pattern for January or the woven bolster is also going to be on the website for pull down. This was last month's pillow pattern. Okay. Now, before we jump into the Mediterranean tile quilt, I do want to share with you that the April quilt is in process, and we're going to be making it both in K fabric, which are the lovely Night and Day Fall 2018 that just came out, and these amazing tulip pink Tinkerbell patterns. These prints are stunning. I mean, I wish you could see these. The quality of the fabric is so thick, it's amazing. It really looks like a home decor type of fabric. And then some of these fabrics have these amazing animals, which you know she's famous for, but they're very sophisticated. I really like the Tinkerbell line. So we're going to be doing the same quilt in April for encased facet fabrics for these wonderful falls and Tinkerbells. So we're going to do that in both. Then the surprise sew along quilt I'm going to reveal in May. That's an amazing quilt that you're going to be able to use with your Cape Summer Indoor Bold quilt pattern kits that come. But I will tell you, the summer with some of the Starburst packs that we're packaging, it's going to be just to die for. And you're going to see that quilt in a few weeks also. We're going to show you some samples of that quilt coming out. So that's what's coming up. Now, let's talk about the Mediterranean borders. One of the things that we really liked in this quilt was the variety of the borders. You could take your pattern on that one fabric and cut it multiple ways. So I want to show that to you. It's behind me, and I don't think people realize, I did get a lot of questions about how am I doing my quilt and which way am I doing my borders. And I haven't answered that question yet because I haven't really decided. I really like a couple different things, and so I'm playing with them, and I'm leaving them on my design wall. So let me show you the ways you can cut your fabric. But you need to think it through before you cut because it only works one way. All right. First, cutting against the pattern is this traditional way. This is not how the instructions tell you to do it. So a lot of times when we see binding going against a pattern, and it makes a really cool effect. So it will look like that in a binding, but in a border, it's pretty nifty too. Now I will tell you that unless you are really good beginner in fussy cutting, you might get frustrated with this fabric and this pattern because it tells you it's a free pattern, and you'll notice in the pattern this is fabric C, and it tells you to cut it the length of the piece of fabric that we shipped you in the kit, not the width of the fabric. So if you're cutting the length of the fabric, that's 82 inches, 84 inches. So you need to lay it out flat because the teaks are hand printed. They're not machine printed. So you are not going to get the same exact pattern at repeats. It's going to offset just slightly, and you need to cut it accordingly, but it still needs to be square. So because the piece needs to be squared up, you can't really layer that fabric and cut it. You will miscut it. And that's the questions and the PMs that I got from folks this week on tips. So because of those questions, and I thank you for sending them to me, that helps me figure out I need to stop and we need to talk about this. So in that case, if you are not comfortable doing fussy cutting yet, like the instructions say, do this lovely way to cut your fabrics, which is with the fabric. Cut it and be fine with it. There's nothing wrong with being a little different in your quilt, and it looks amazing. I'm going to put it back on the wall so you can think about it while I move on. Okay, the next option that you have with this fabric, you need to pay attention. You have these little, we'll call them leaves. So these leaves that you have on your pattern, you have them in blue with the white center and then white with the blue center. So this is another couple questions I got, and I really want you to pay attention that although this looks like it's got the light blue center and the dark blue frame, you really can be cutting your middles differently. You can be cutting it with the blue in the center of the white one way and then miscut it on the other way. Pay attention that when you cut these and you position them, that you're positioning your curves the same way with the same little leaves facing the same way as well. And don't get the wrong repeat. So there's different repeats within that fabric width. So this is a really nice, I felt this was the second easiest way to cut your border. I also think it's a very pretty way to do this. This fabric cut has the dark on the outside and it has the light blue in the center. It's a simple, easy way. It hides any miscuts with that wider, darker pattern. So that's your second option of cutting your borders. I dropped one. Okay. Your third option is having the blue border in the center. And I did this a couple different ways to show this to you. When you put your blue border in the center, which is very pretty, it does become difficult, here it is, to center that. So you really need to be a seasoned quilter, I think, or fussy cutter. And you're going to put this in the center, and again, it's a petite, so it is going to be slightly off. You need to realize that you're going to be sewing a seam here, so you're going to have just the edge of a white dot sticking up. And so you can either try to center this here, and it's very successful, and I did a few, and I'll show you longer pieces in just a second, or you can actually move it around a little and do halvesies. So I did a partial blue, a full center light blue, a dark center blue, and then a partial light blue. And I liked this one a lot. I felt this was still pretty, advanced fussy cutting, because you are dealing with this little wave here, and you're going to have to cut that even for 82 inches. But I felt like that was a little more forgiving. This one is probably the most difficult cut out of all the fabrics, and you might be just fine at this. So let me show you some other options in cutting these borders. I have some 4.5 inch examples that I'll show you. Here we go. So some of my longer pieces, and I did these at 42 inches. Just so that I know you can't see 84 inches on the camera, so I did them at 82. But here's one. All right, Here's a partial of both, which I felt like is very pretty. Dark blue, dark blue, and some light blue coming through again. The first one is the dark that I just showed you is the dark blue center, exactly cut down the middle of that pattern, okay? And then this one has more of this really fun white. It looks like a coral reef to me. I really liked that white coral reefy look. So I tried to center that in the middle of these. So that looks really pretty together. So, you know, I did these with my scraps just to kind of figure out what my options are. All right. So I suggest you maybe look at this, put your cutting rulers next to different patterns and figure out what pattern you like best when you do yours. Because you're going to have to cut it and you use a full length of fabric. Okay, now let's talk about our contest and some options. There are some fun things that I'm going to be doing with pillows and using my scraps of this border, which is the wiggle fabric seed. And you can see them behind me. I've taken some of these scraps and I've cut half square triangles and then I've placed them back together. And I got this really fun medallion right here. And so I plan to sew that guy together and play with that, probably doing some applique in the center. But I felt like this was a really cool framed pattern that I got out of playing with that cut. But this is also a really nice accent pillow. So these are half square triangles that I cut, and then I repositioned them back into this arrangement. And here's the same one with the light blue on the outside. This is dark blue on the outside. And this simply is, when I'm doing my half square triangles, I'm paying attention to making sure that dark wave is on the outside edge of my half square triangle. And then that curve gives me that fun corner look. So push it back together right there. Isn't that fun? So I'll take some pictures of these and put them on the wall because you take your scrap and you can make these fun little accent pillows. Next week, we're going to be talking about our round accent pillow and the pillow sham. And then any other final questions we have that you send to me, we will cover in our completion of the Mediterranean quilt. And then we'll wait a couple weeks and I want to see progress. Now, one of the things I am going to cover in next week's webinar is the layout of snowballs. I got questions about recommendations for the pattern. So what I'm going to do is build you an Excel and I'm going to show you the exact layout of snowballs that I saw in the quilt at market, so you know exactly how the Case Collective Group did it, both Case and Liza. So then I'm also going to give you some other examples of things that work well together. And this pillow sham that we talked about in our first section is a great way for you to put your 4.5-inch squares together and snowball them and lay out your pillow and your quilt. All right, so that completes our webinar tonight. You know how it goes. We're now going to answer questions live. And I will see everyone else next week at Webinar Live, So Long with Georgie Girl, and this week on the wall at Facebook, both the So Long with Georgie Girl and the K-Fan group. And now we've changed the Boutique and Artisan group to call it Ombre Boutique and Artisan because I have an ombre quilt and ombre fabric we're going to be featuring in 2019. So have a great week, and let's go to questions and answers right now.